Okay, welcome to another episode of the Idiot's Guide to Rebuilding a Suzuki GT750. This particular one is rebuilding the engine, which I know scares the shit out of some people, but if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's really simple. To start with, we've had the crankcases vapor blasted. I've then gone round all the holes with an airline, blowing them out, but I've dug into the holes with a little prodigy thing, and this frees up any of the grit that's down there. I've blown out every single hole, journal, everything, but wear glasses or look away when you're doing it, because you will get grit. Even though it's been washed out, you will still get grit coming at you and it'll hit your eyes. Luckily I wear glasses to do this because I'm blind as a badger. So we've cleaned all these out. Next operation is I use a Stanley blade knife, a new one, and then I just scrape over all the crankcase mating halves, and I've cleaned off any residual or old sealant. So we know that by using this, because it's a very flat and sharp surface, we can go over everything and we know it's all flat and true. Obviously you blow it off again afterwards. The next thing I do is fit the water pump. So, make sure you can see. Yeah. So inside here, as you know, there is a pin which you can take out. I don't, I leave it in. But what I do is I mark on the top, make sure you can see, here, I mark where that pin is. So when I put the water pump in, we know roughly where it is, so we can line it in and make sure it goes down. I'll just get the water pump and I'll be back with you shortly. I'm quite fortunate to have quite a few original, brand new Suzuki water pumps. But if you haven't got any, they are no longer available from Suzuki. You can buy them rebuilt, but you need to check out who you're buying them from, because there's quite a few cowboys out there that don't repair them properly and they try and get away with it, and the next thing you know, the water pump's failed and it's not their fault. So again, on the water pump you have got the cutout which fits on the pin that I've left in. So all I do is mark that at the top, then I put a little bit of grease on, not an awful lot, just a little bit of grease with a paintbrush on those O-rings and just down the side, just a bit, and that allows it makes sure that the O-rings don't kink when you put them back in. So now we've marked the water pump, get rid of the bag, keeping that mark in line with that mark. Okay, what you need to do is put a piece of wood under the crankcase, because the end of the water pump, make sure you can see it, yeah you can, the end of the water pump goes beyond the face of the crank, so obviously you need a bit of room. Find yourself a nice socket and just tap it down. And if you've got the marks right, you'll be able to feel under there that the face of the water pump has gone below the circlip ring. So then you can just put the circlip onto it. Right, we obviously put everything in little bags. So everything to do with the water pump is in these bags. So we've got the impeller and 2 circlips. Get the correct pliers, squeeze it, drop it in, and just tap it down. You'll hear it snap into place. Double check it's in correctly. And that is your water pump fitted. It's then a nice, easy job. The water pump has got a slice in there. They line up with those 2. Push it down. Tap that down. Okay, we've got the right circlip pliers. Just open it up gently, push it down. And click it into place. Make sure, pay attention that it's obviously gone into the groove. Maybe just give it a little tap to ensure it has, which it has. So that is now fitted and good to go. Okay, I've put a very small amount of this 3-bond. This is 3-bond 1215, which is what I use for everything. It's really good. It goes virtually hard. It's fantastic. I've put a very thin coating on the base of that. So I'm just going to do it again. I just do the dot and dab thing. So it's just, that's how much is on. It's next to nothing. But it makes sure you don't get a leak. So just round the shell. Okay. This goes back on. And then just a tap to make sure it goes home. Bolts, I'm using Allen bolts, cap head bolts, because you can get them tight. Washers on, whilst we're on the subject, there's the correct way of putting a washer. A washer has got 2 sides. It's where it's been pressed. So when they press that out, you get a rounded side and you get a square side. The rounded side always goes there because it looks nice. I know I'm a bit anal, but hey, if you're gonna do something, do it right. Okay, I've just taken all the screws down. I just go round in the shell direction. Just nip them. As I say, with these, you can get a nice bit of tightness on, but do use your brains with it. So that is the water pump fitted. first job out of the way. Right, we've turned this over now. Water pump's fitted. The next thing is to fit the oil pipe. Make sure it goes on the correct way, and make sure you've got the nylon sealing rings on it. I've cleaned this out with carb cleaner because there's a fair amount of rubbish that gets in the bottom of it. Dead easy. Screw it in place and then just nip it. Doesn't have to be very tight, but hold it when you tighten it and then just nip it. You definitely do not want it coming undone. Right, the next job is to insert the drum. I always use this pre-lube, assembly lube. Very sticky oil, but it means that nothing's going in dry. Little dab on there, and a little dab on here. Very, very sticky stuff, that. Slide that through there. And then just spin it round so that lube is on everything. The next thing to put on is this. Don't actually know what that's called. It's a little shit to put on. So hold that in, that goes into the groove, and then you just push that through and push it home so it bottoms out there and it's flush on this face. Then flick the spring through. Oh, it's not going to do it, is it? Okay, so let's pull it out again. Hook the spring over the little knob thing. And see if you can get it on. That's better. So this spring is putting tension on this, which goes into the grooves, which again hold it as you position. Flick that back. Next we put on the double forks, or the Selector forks. Give them a quick clean. Pull those off. Slide the shaft through. Nice tight fit. Now then, this Selector, you'll see it's got that pin, so you'll see that this Selector is in this groove, so there's two other grooves, so obviously these go in those. So push it through, give it a waggle, give it a clean. And push it home so that the face is below the side where the Selector drum is on the right hand side. Next we need the gears and the C-clips are in here. Okay, so we've got our bag full of our C-clips because we use the bags and we put them all together. Wonderful. So we clean all these off because obviously the cleaner you can keep this, the better. This is the one for the crank, the biggest one. There's only one on the crank, so that just goes in there. Give them a clean as you put them in. Drop them down. I tend to do them in descending sizes. Big word, isn't it? Get all those in. And just make sure that they're down properly. And this is the one for the water pump drive shaft, which just drops into there, which I'm trying to do one-handed. But it's not working. Let's give it a tap. At least we know that's in tight. That was tight. Okay, what you need to do is make sure that the edges, it's magnetic, are sitting below the crankcase top. The next things to do are to fit the gears. Now, you don't have to be a genius to work out that, let me get a pointer. This is where the selector runs, so you know that is that one. And just tap it down into place and make sure when you look visually that there is no gap between the bearing and the crankcase, and then you know that's in place. And make sure obviously that the selector is in that groove. Get your next one. A little bit trickier because you've got to hold that there. And get the selectors where they should be. Better. So again, we've got the selector forks running in these and a nice liberal coating of grease on them, or oil. Again, don't be afraid just to tap them down. And again, just check that the bearings are sitting perfectly in the crankcase without any gaps. Lovely. So that's that in, all mated up nicely. Lovely. The next one I put in is a Kickstart shaft. So you'll see you've got dowels or holes where the dowels fit. Better check if you can see this. Right, let's set that up. Okay. The next one to fit is the Kickstart shaft. This needs to go under this, and these dowels need to locate in these two. So what I tend to do is I hook that under there first, then I look where the dowel is, or the hole for the dowel, rotate it until you find it, there, that's that one, and the front one, right, they're both down now. You then need to rotate this so that that foot is under this plate, because that's the thing that disengages it when you use the Kickstart. So when you fitted it, you've rotated it so that foot is underneath here. This oil hole must be up, and also, which you probably can't see, there's a hole here. This hole should be, if you're looking at it from the left, off. Next thing to put in is the oil pump drive. Bit of oil in it, in the hole. I don't like tons of oil swirling around, but put that in, and you should have one washer on the top. That's the one you need. Just make sure it locates, and after you've finished, if the shaft's dirty, just give it a quick clean. Water pump drive shaft is the next. Let me just see if you can see. Yeah. Okay. So this fits. There is a half a dowel there with a half missing. That half fits on the back of this bearing. And just rotate it so you know that it's in place. The circlip on this side is on the inside of it, so it just holds it all in place. And just make sure visually again that it's down. You can hear that go down. You can hear that go down. So those are down. Somebody I know actually didn't fit this correctly and crushed this bearing, literally snapped it with a crankcase. That engine wouldn't have been in such good condition. He also stripped a thread on the main crank bolts, but that's another story. So that's that. We're ready to put the crank in.